biggest baseball story since the turn of the century was expansion in the majors, pioneered by the American League. The Los Angeles Angels were a dynamic force in that story. They proved to be the surprise team of 1961 in the American League. The Angels were fired by the enthusiasm of their owners, the administrative magic of Fred Haney, who engineered 21 changes from the original roster, and by the field generalship of Bill Rigney. Less than 2.5 months was allotted the Angels to place a team on the field to compete with franchises which had been operating for 60 years. The Angels answered the opening bell with a knockout. Yes, they were surprising, but the biggest surprise of all was the sudden announcement that Los Angeles had acquired an American League franchise. It all began in St. Louis on December 6th, 1960. Perhaps the biggest story to come out of St. Louis for this session of the Major League meetings is the awarding of the Los Angeles franchise in the American League to a group headed by Gene Autry and Bob Reynolds. Gene Autry, of course, the famous singing cowboy and movie star. Bob Reynolds, a longtime associate of Autry's in various endeavors. Included in the group that received the award of the Los Angeles franchise are Paul A. O'Brien, an attorney, Kenyon Brown, Joseph A. Thomas, and associates. The award was made earlier by the American League to the Gene Autry Group for play in 1961. Within 8 days after approval of the Los Angeles franchise, Fred Haney and Bill Rigney had been appointed general manager and field manager, and they were on their way to Boston for the selection of players. The Angels scored their first victory in the office of American League President Joe Cronin. Washington general manager Ed Doherty tossed a bat to Haney, and the two new executives chose up sides the way we all used to do as kids. Washington manager Mickey Vernon and Bill Rigney watched as Haney wound up with the bat and first pick. Before the day ended, the Angels spent over $2 million for talent made available by the other clubs. Haney gave an indication of his foresight by drafting a mixture of veterans and youngsters, always keeping an eye on the future. Pitching is the foundation of a baseball team. The Angels' number one choice was Eli Gerba, a durable right-hander. Later came outfielder Ken Hunt, hard-hitting catcher Earl Averill, relief ace Tom Morgan, slugging Steve Bilko, and popular Albie Pearson. No, this isn't the Angels' first workout. Leaving no stone unturned in their efforts to uncover talent, Haney and Rigney struck upon the idea of a pre-spring training tryout camp. Hundreds of boys ranging in age from 15 to 54 turned out at Sawtell. Some of the candidates didn't even have gloves, but they were willing. Bob Reynolds, Haney, and Rigney toured the ranks. Beautiful Palm Springs. It seems like only yesterday we were driving down Palm Canyon Drive to the spring training home of the Angels, who drilled at the Polo Grounds and lived in the fancy surroundings of the Desert Inn Hotel. Palm Springs is recognized as the world's finest vacation spot, but it was to be no vacation for the Angels. Conditioning is a vital part of every athlete's life. Catcher Del Rice, now a coach, led the Angels in their morning calisthenics. Rigney used psychology. If Rice, who is Jack Benny's age, 39, could stretch those legs, he figured the younger players weren't going to let old bones embarrass them. Oh, stop it, fellas. My back aches just watching. Spring training is a period in which you not only tone the muscles, but major leaguers must sharpen up those throwing arms, regain the hitting eyes in the batting cage, work on all sorts of fundamentals. Southpaw Ted Boesfield had his own exercises for getting into shape. Angel practices attracted many curious eyes. Former President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who had his trained on the welfare of the nation for so many years, turned out to check Angel progress. The general had a long visit with the players, and he liked what he saw. Enough to accept an Angel cap and announce he would follow them. The city of Palm Springs provided the rousing send-off for the Angels' exhibition bow against the Chicago Cubs. Pom-pom girls from Palm Springs High School helped to keep minds off the sun. So did the wide assortment of decorative hats. And they came in all shapes, all sizes. The stands were jam-packed for the opener.
And, of course, the youngsters, well, they found a way to beat the price in the trees beyond left field. Hiya, fellas. The Angels began the spring opener with a bobble instead of a bang. Chicago's Richie Ashburn was safe at first when pitcher Tex Clevenger dropped the ball. But the Angels rebounded to win their exhibition debut, to the delight of this Southern gentleman, name of Phil Harris, regular at Angel Palm Springs games. Here come a pair of runs across the plate as the Angels pounded out an 8-3 victory over the Cubs. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, a lavish job of redecorating was being done on the exterior and interior of Wrigley Field. A crew of Rembrandts splashed enough paint and applied new fixtures to give the old place a major league finish. In the Wrigley Tower, the front office burned the midnight oil. Cedric Callis, Marvin Milks, Billy Jordan, Frank Leary, Irv Kays, George Goodale, Roland Heeman, and George Bryson were hard at work prior to and during the spring training phase of the Pioneer year. Their work behind the scenes was an important factor in getting the Angels set to answer the cry of play ball, both away and at home for the inaugural year. The Angels winged their way to Baltimore, where the Orioles and their fans were making with a tweet, it can be done in 61. Baltimore had pennant fever after a young team had kept them in hot pursuit of the Yankees during 1960. Meeting with American League umpires was a new experience for Angel manager Bill Rigney. But it wasn't long before he had more than a speaking acquaintance with them. Some of the men in blue were known to tap Riggs' finances quite regularly. No names, please. But those home plate conferences were always congenial, especially the first one. Rigney was full of ginger as he made his way back to the Angel dugout. And so were the Angels for their initial bid to stop all that pennant talk in Baltimore. Eddie Yost led it off on that cold 40-degree day of April 11th, for the team they said would achieve a miracle if it won 50 games. Pity the experts who had to swallow their predictions. The Angels won 70 games. Orioles ace Milt Pappas delivered the first pitch, a spike. Yost was taking, as he usually does, on the first pitch. Eddie is a keen judge of the strike zone. There was a ball. A lot of the tension eased out of the Angels with Yost up there. The problems of expansion were lifted by the actual taste of American League competition. Eddie sent a pop-up to shortstop Ron Hansen, who was making the plays for Uncle Sam now. The Orioles fired the ball around the infield, and their publicized pitching looked good as ever. Little did they realize the Angels were signaling for the home run play in the first inning of their first game. With two away, little Albie Pearson got things rolling. He drew ball 4 and a free ticket to first base. Was the rally on? Ted Kluszewski will be the next hitter. What a gallant performer he was for the Angels in that opener. When's the last time you saw Big Clue hiding those bulging muscles with a sweater? Well, this was the first and only time to give you an idea of how cold it was in Baltimore. Big Clue gave an inkling of what was to come with a shot into the right field seats, which hooked foul. Baltimore's Memorial Stadium, like most American League parks, is a huge place. To get one out of the place takes some doing. It's supposed to be a pitcher's paradise. Let's see about that. Now she blows, and Clue didn't even run. He knew this one was a goner when he belted it, high and far into the right field seats. The Angels led 2-0 on the first of 189 home runs, second only to the world champion Yankees in Major League power performance. Albie Pearson stuck around to congratulate his roommate, and how's that for an incongruous pair? Clue slept in the bed, and Albie in the dresser. The Angel dugout came alive with welcome pats on Clue's brought back. Before Baltimore fans got over the shock, whammo! There went another one. Jackie Brandt gave chase, but there was no chance of catching the back-to-back clout supplied by Bob Cerv. Bob Reynolds and Gene Autry let out a loud California yell to cut the thick Maryland silence. Angel President Reynolds said this thrill was just like playing in the Rose Bowl again. And he should know he played every minute in 3 of them. What would baseball be without a rhubarb? Well, the Angels got into a lulu in the second inning. With Eli Gerba on second, Yost at first with 1 out. Ken Aspromonte will send a bullet back at third baseman Brooks Robinson. Look at that stop. Robinson grabs the ball and throws to second. Was he out or safe? Well, Yost let you know his interpretation with a wild dance of dispute. It's unusual for Yost to complain, so this one must have been close. Stay with him, Eddie. Here comes the boss to help out. Those of you who read sign language know Rigney is hotter than an engine with lighted matches in his moccasins. And now this was just the first of many excursions from dugout to playing field for the Angel manager, who formed a debating society with the umpires. The umpires always had one opinion, Rigney another. Kind of tough to get those fellows to see your point of view, eh, Rig? You will notice the umpire isn't too perturbed by Rigney's tirade. American League umpires have been sailed into by jumping Jim Pearsall, and after Pearsall, you're ready for anybody. The colorful center fielder is with Washington now. Mr. Rigney, a penny for your thoughts. It wasn't a good idea to arouse the Angels. Here comes pesky Albie Pearson. Albie sprays a single into right field. Are we getting more fireworks? And uh-oh, up pops the devil once again. Terrible Ted Kluszewski. This veteran was instrumental in making the Angels the headline story in every newspaper around the country on opening day. His slugging featured the auspicious start by Los Angeles in the American League. Beating Baltimore was his stock in trade. The Orioles tried a change in pitchers. This is Johnny Papa, getting his first taste of Major League competition. What a spot for a rookie. Oriole fans could sense trouble as Ken Aspromonte inched away from second base and Albie Pearson from first. Aspromonte at second. And there's little Albie, 5 feet 5 3/8 of dynamite. Blue swings and misses, and man, what a swing. Papa must have felt like a grandpapa looking down at that dangerous bat. Bye-bye baseball. A 3-run homer for the Angels. Here are those happy owners again, Reynolds and Autry. Say, this is more fun than catching rustlers at Melody Ranch, eh, Gene? When the rally ended, the Angels were on top 7-0. It may have been cold outside, but that Angel dugout was warm and cozy. It's the 9th inning now, and starting pitcher Eli Gerba can feel a 6-hit, root-going victory in his grasp. Looks like Haney knew what he was doing when he drafted this fellow right at the top of the list. Take your time, Eli. No hurry now. The Orioles were still alive with a runner at first base, 2 out, but touch-hitting Jackie Brandt in the batter's box. Strike 3, and the Angels win 7-2. And Gerba wants the ball from Gadger Del Rice. Who wouldn't want that souvenir of the first game in Angel American League history? Beating Baltimore became a pattern. The Angels shot down the Orioles in 10 out of the 18 games they played, enough to clinch the series for the season over the pennant contenders. 8 games and as many rainouts later, the Angels came home to Wrigley Field for another opening ceremony. What a gala occasion it was. The first American League game ever in Los Angeles. With bunting draped over the box seats, the ballpark had a festive look, which was Major League in every respect. A man who had hoped to toss out the first ball in Washington on opening day in 1961 seemed happy to practice at Wrigley for a later date in the capital. Smiling Richard Nixon talked things over with Gene Autry and Casey Stengel. The former vice president visited with players, too. There's Stengel with baseball commissioner Ford Frick. The American League's Ty Cobb was the greatest hitter of them all. One of Cobb's last official acts before his death was to throw out the first ball. There's the immortal Cobb with J.G. Taylor's Fink of the Sporting News. As Major League action was launched at Wrigley Field, 2 of the best-known Angel stars of Coast League days peeled their coats. One-time outfielder Jigger Stats tossed a few in to catcher Truck Hanna. Leonard Firestone, one of the Angel owners, got a kick out of their routine, and so did his lovely wife, Polly. Well, Rigney went out to see if you can talk terms with umpires about the ground rules in your own park. Our cameraman took this opportunity to survey the controversial fences at Wrigley. The short porches in left center. And the right center field bleachers. They offered inviting targets for the famed home run royal family of the American League. The fences were kind to most of the long ball hitters, for a new all-time record went into the books. When the season ended, 248 home runs were crashed out of Wrigley. The Angels have said goodbye to the compact park now, so the record is likely to stand forever. The Angels await the signal to take the field against the Minnesota Twins. The climactic moment is here. The American League has arrived in Los Angeles, which truly became the sports capital of the world. To Eli Gerba went the honor of pitching the first game at home, just as he had done so successfully on the road in Baltimore. It was a warm, sunny day in L.A. Perhaps the Angels needed a little time to become acclimated. Gerba started it off by pitching to Zorro Versalis, colorful Cuban shortstop for the Twins. Zorro stays with the head of the pack in stealing bases. And the way the Cuban runs bases, why, you would think Castro was chasing him. Angel power exploded quickly. Watch Earl Abrams' drive land on top of the left field wall. There it goes, and it's over and out for a two-run homer. Avalon Boulevard is one of the streets bounding Wrigley Field. So, Abro promptly was tagged as the Earl of Avalon. No doubt about it, the slugging catcher sparkled at home. Steve Bilko will greet Earl. Big Steve scored the first Angel run at Wrigley after reaching base on a walk. There's a big 2 on the scoreboard for the Angels. Unfortunately, the Twins rallied for 4 runs, and it was then a 4-2 contest. The Angels tried to pull it out in the ninth. There were 2 on and as many out after this walk, with Ken Hunt coming to bat. Not connected, but watch Bob Allison make one of the most spectacular catches of the year. Win or lose, ninth inning drama was commonplace in the House of Thrills. The Angels supplied them, so did the visitors, like this quartet from New York. From the left, you're looking at Elston Howard, Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, and Yogi Berra. Maris was the most, 61 homers in 61. Mantle was close behind with 54. Yogi Berra hurt the Angels more than many of the other superstars in the American League. Detroit showed us Rocky Colavito and American League batting champion Norm Cash, along with hard-hitting outfielder Al Kaline. And Frank Larry, perhaps baseball's best right-handed pitcher. Bob Sheffing managed the Toothy Tigers. Now Nellie Fox doesn't have a ball in his jaw. That's the White Soxers tobacco jaw. Dick Hauser, Kansas City shortstop, was a sensational rookie. Harmon Killebrew specializes in the long ball. Same for Johnny Romano of Cleveland. Baltimore's Jim Gentile clouded 8 Wrigley homers. Brooks Robinson is another good hitter. It's possible to advance quickly in the Angel organization. Local boys like pitcher George Conrad of Newhall and outfielder Dick Simpson, talking with farm and scouting director Roland Heeman, leaped from an Angel farm at Statesville to the big club roster in a single year. Notice how Simpson resembles Ernie Banks. Enter home run slugger Leon Wagner, the grip. Leon shows Simpson, a long ball hitter, how he spreads his hands on the bat. Simpson is one of the many youngsters in whom the Angels invested more than $500,000 in their first year of operation. The Angels have high hopes for fast-bowling southpaw Bob Sprout and hard-working right-hander Dean Chance. Bob Rogers served notice he's ready by hitting .321 in 16 Angel games last year. Rogers is also a fine handler of pitchers. Jim Fregosi has the fielding savvy at shortstop. Dan Ardell is an SC Trojan on the roster, as is rookie third baseman Tom Satriano. Jim Donahue made good in a hurry after his acquisition from Detroit. And Ken McBride made it in a big way as a rookie on the 61 Angel team and was named to the American League All-Star squad. The handsome right-hander is a potential 20-game winner for 1962. Lee Thomas and George Thomas formed the Angels' highly publicized TNT Wallet. They were two more examples of Fred Haney's training success. George is in the Army, but Lee will be back to swing for the Angels. Manager Bill Rigney slapped him with gloves for first base in the outfield, and Lee came through like a champion, being runner-up for American League Rookie of the Year honors. From the House of Thrills, the Angels moved downtown into Chavez Ravine, the finest baseball plant in the world. Playing here is another historical first for the American League, which once again will present powerful star-studded lamps. This time around, the Angels are even better equipped to match them man for man. The Angels are never idle in or out of season. Fred Haney and his staff are always improving on their highly competitive product. The Angels hope you liked their brand of American League Baseball in their first year, which saw them beat the Yankees in 6 of 9 games at home. It's exciting baseball. The owners, other executives, and players in the Angels organization look forward with renewed vigor to playing in the new House of Thrills at Chavez Ravine. We know that you will enjoy the unparalleled comforts of a brand new ballpark. The Angels invite you to Chavez Ravine as often as possible for baseball at its best. Angels and American League Baseball, starring the foremost greats of the game.